sits there and taps his hands, and you're just sitting there, and he, sits there and rocks back and forth in the chair, sitting there big old another murderer or whatever he is, convicted. Up to this point of a case, not in handcuffs, not in shackles, one or the other, or both, and in orange.
Hello, everybody. Excited Utterance here, and hang on. Oh, I have a grumpy little guy. Not really little. Here he is. He's been sitting here waiting for the stream because he doesn't like Nancy Grace very much. Do you like Nancy Grace? He didn't approve. Hang on, there's some other animals out there also raising their disapproval. Disapprove of Nancy Grace. I actually went by to Nick. He's probably asleep right now. Although he really, really can't handle Nancy Grace. Well, hello everybody. And it's another Kohberger stream, and I'm really, really into the whole Kohberger story right now because stuff's happening. Stuff is happening. And I really needed a distraction from all the other garbage happening in my life. So today is gloves off. Haha, gloves off. See the gloves? Gloves off. I just want to say a quick hello to people before I bring my co-host in because I can't wait to stream with my co-host again. Hello, Christine and Murphy Tofi. Yes, please hit. Oh, look at that little glove. Glove. Don't forget to hit that on your way in. And Half Irish is here. Hello, Half Irish. I love you. And Sarah said hi. There's an echo. Maybe the wrong mic. Or what echo? Hello.
Hi. Hello.
Can you hear an echo?
A little bit. I mean,
can you hear an echo?
I'm awful at
echo.
It just sounds like you're underwater kind of a little bit.
Okay. You know what?
That's better.
Does it need to be like that?
That's better.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Is that
I'm awful
better?
Murph says it's better.
Yeah, the thing is, I was trying to keep it off the screen because I feel like a bit of an idiot with this thing on the screen.
I know.
That's all. Yeah. I feel like I'm pretending to be a big streamer, and like I want to be a big streamer because I am a big streamer, not because I've got a thing on a big microphone on my screen. Like I want to really, really grow into one, not just like get a microphone and then I am like, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Can you like just put it on the bottom of the screen like this? Just a little tip at the bottom.
Oh, that. Put it down there. No, it won't reach that far. It's like the boom arm is like all. My desk is quite long, and so it's at the moment it's hooked up over there. And I might have to after the stream. I might have to get it like put.
I would try to hook it somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It takes a while.
All right.
Figure out
technical issues.
Anyways.
Technical issues. Okay. Never mind.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure the chat wants to hear.
I'm sure they want to hear all about that garbage. Yeah. But yeah, I wanted it to be off the screen because I feel like I look like a bit of a dork with it on. But anyway, it's better. As long as it's better. That's all that matters. I'm not a big streamer. Sans my. Hey, Did you say Sans? Did you say Sans? Are we not allowed to what? Do a what? A hashtag?
Hashtagged? Is
What are you talking about?
David? Is that David?
David what?
Because he misspelled it.
I don't know what he's talking about.
You're using voice to text.
Oh, right. No, it's David. You have 180 subscribers. Now you are big time. You are big time, Christine. Anya. Good. You're doing great. Fancy up the mic like the Star Wars girl. Nah, sorry. Nah, I'm not that big time. I'm not that big time. Anyway, it's this okay. Hashtag Sal can fix Nancy. You know what I found? Because I was looking for a photo for the thumbnail.
Sierra
I found a picture of her on Dancing with the Stars.
Oh God, I remember that. Didn't she have
not.
a wardrobe malfunction too?
Oh God, I please hope not. All I know is that it was like a sparkly silver number, and you could see her legs and everything. And yeah, it.
Very
Yeah.
exfoliating. Yeah, you
So-
see her nipple. Yeah, you see part of her nipple.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't need to know that, but okay.
Yeah, part of her boob was exposed during Dancing with the Stars.
Was this pre or post Janet?
This was 2011.
Okay, so post.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes, she has legs. Hello, I'm Bronze. What a nice rainbow lorikeet you have there.
Oh, and the host says, "Oh, the European version would be totally fine."
Okay. All right. So what we're doing today is about 5-6 days ago, Nancy Grace decided that she was going to devote one of her shows to Brian Kohberger. Lucky him. Lucky him, because she's kind of laid off him for a little bit. But she decided that there was something newsworthy for her to cover. Actually, a couple things. One of them was the breaking news of the ex-housemate of the 4 or 6 housemates that were at King Road, who moved out 6 months prior and therefore has pretty well nothing to do with the whole thing, has come out and spoken out to the media now for some ungodly known reason, and had a little bit of 15 minutes of fame. She really has said nothing, so nothing new. And that's why we haven't even bothered to touch it here. A lot of other channels haven't bothered to touch it. She really hasn't said anything much. But Nancy Grace decided to cover it a bit. Even she couldn't really find much, but you'll have a look. You'll see what she has to say. It's pretty hilarious. The other thing that she thought was newsworthy was this thing about the gloves. So you can see how much she thought the gloves were relevant. Very, very, very relevant. Now, you guys watch trials and things as much as Dali and I do. You wait and see if you think whether or not the glove evidence, which she thinks is going to be so damning at trial, would even be allowed in based on what she's saying or how she's saying it has been collected, this evidence, if it even exists. But she thinks it's damning. Damning.
Damning.
Damning. Her and her panel of experts. So, without further ado, let's watch. And in the interest of fair use, we will we will watch it and react, because that's the right thing to do. And you know what? This isn't just about mocking her, even though I said that we're going to do that. I don't just put people up here to mock them. But come on, you kind of asked for it, Nancy Grace. She's going to put forth some arguments, kind of. And we are going to address those arguments with some arguments backwards, so some rebuttals. So if we know whether or not the kind of things she's putting forth would likely be able to be admitted at trial, or whether or not these things are actually tainting a jury pool at present, then let's discuss that. So let's go. Let us go, peoples. And I'm sorry in advance. She's very annoying.
Breaking news tonight. Did Idaho slay suspect Brian Kohberger actually wear plastic surgical gloves in the grocery store for weeks after the quadruple murders to avoid leaving a trail of evidence? And did Kohberger's cell phone pings track along with the victims for weeks before the murders? This as the victim's former roommate breaks her silence to reveal a final text to slay victim Maddie Mogan in an eerie premonition. Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thank you for being with us.
A premonition, people. I kid you not. A premonition.
I texted like our group of friends and I just had said, has anyone heard from Maddie?
She's a cutie.
And I remember like my last text message to her was like, are you okay? And I feel like right then and there, I kind of just knew that something was wrong.
That emotional sound of the former roommate from our friends at KXLY. You were hearing Ashlyn Couch as she desperately tried to reach Maddie Mogan, having no idea what had happened. Again, thank you for being with us. A lot happening in the Brian Kohberger case. Joining me an all-star panel to make sense of what we know right now. But first, listen to this.
Ashlyn Couch transferred her lease at 1122 King Road to Xana Kernodle just 6 months before Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Gonzalez were slain in the home. Couch remembers getting an alert from the university and immediately reaching out to friends still in Moscow. Couch's last text to Mogan before learning of her death was, "Are you okay?" Couch followed up in a group chat with friends. "Has anyone heard from Maddie?" Couch says the thought that the murders could have happened earlier is unsettling, commenting that you never know how long someone is watching your house.
Wow. Again, you are hearing from KXLY. That was Ashlyn Couch speaking, trying, again, desperately to get in touch with, we now know, murder victim Maddie Mogan. With me an all-star panel, straight out to Dave Mack, crimeonline.com investigative reporter.
She was trying desperately to get in touch with Madeline, because she thought she knew something was going to happen. Guilty.
She's psychic.
She could be it. She knew.
Wow. I bet this girl always knows if she's being cheated on.
Dave, explain to me the time sequence as to what we are hearing from Ashlyn Couch, the former roommate there at King Road.
Well, Ashlyn was talking about how 6 months before this happened, she actually was moving. And so Xana Kernodle took over her part of the lease on the King Road home, got her room. But Ashlyn was still in contact with her friends from there. And so during that time period when the murders happened, an alert from the college went out and said, "We've had a homicide near campus." And immediately Ashlyn Couch thought of her friends in the King Road house. That's why she was reaching out right away.
Guys, this young girl, Ashlyn Couch, now speaking. Will she be a witness? What can she tell us?
She witnessed nothing.
Anything about the King Road address at all. And, to Chris McDonough, director of the Cold Case Foundation, former homicide detective with over 300 homicides under his belt and host of the popular YouTube channel, The Interview Room. Chris McDonough, the issue here, as far as Ashlyn Couch goes, The fact that she had a premonition, that's probably not going to be admissible
Yeah,
at
see?
trial.
Yo,
The fact that she tried desperately
wow.
to reach anybody at the King Road address, specifically trying to find out what was happening with Maddie Mogan, and Maddie would not respond. That may not come into
yeah.
evidence. However, her knowledge of the home. And I found it very curious what she said when she said, you never know how long somebody has been watching your house.
Yeah, Nancy, that statement in of itself is fascinating. I mean, the fact that she has a premonition as well, post the
Yeah, premonition
Okay.
after it
Yeah.
happened. Wow.
No, she had. Look, it's
Well, she-
fascinating. This expert, I don't know where she got him, but
Yeah,
he's gold.
typical expert.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm disgusted that this testimony won't probably come in at trial.
No.
This is, I can't believe people take this woman seriously. This is the first 5 minutes of her show, and she's talking about how this
No.
girl
She's just a pretty face.
oh, Nancy, this girl who moved out 6 months prior is saying that she had some premonition, and when she heard about the murders, immediately thought about the house at King Road and her friends, and was desperately trying to get onto them. And unfortunately, maybe that wouldn't be able to come in at trial. Oh, well.
There's no evidentiary reason for it to come in.
Well, you and I know that, and our chat's smart enough to know that.
Well, Nancy should know that,
But okay. And then they're all like, oh, isn't that amazing that she had this premonition? Oh, yes. That's really, wow.
homicides here that, she's thinking, when I was there, could somebody have been watching me? And
Could
or
they?
obviously her roommates there. So that in itself, I think the authorities, need to dig into that if they haven't already. That's pretty telling.
Why? Because she thought someone may have been watching her 6 months earlier, that they should now dig into that. Maybe they should, because you know what? It could have been, it was, if they're looking into something else, they might find the actual murderer.
Yeah.
Hand in hand with what you were talking about is potential evidence. And we saw it in the Alex Murdaugh trial, where Murdaugh's
Jesus.
phone was
Alice, bring up
traveling
Murdaugh.
along with his wife, Maggie Murdaugh, before her phone was
Murdaugh?
thrown unceremoniously out of his vehicle the night of the murders. Now reports that we're going to hear evidence that his phone, Brian Kohberger, was spotted in cell phone pings in and around where the victims were in the weeks leading up to the murders. To Mark Tate joining me, high-profile lawyer out of Savannah, partnering with the Tate Law Group. Mark, thank you for being with us. What do you make about that potential evidence that where they went on several occasions, his cell phone would ping as well?
Sure, I think that's
just a
something that
coincidence, Mark
Here we
Tate?
go.
well, it may be. Remember, he went to school just 8 miles away. And if I was defending this case, I would say, if you're going to use cell phone pings to prosecute him, then you have to look into the fact that he has put forth an acceptably under Idaho law that he has an alibi, which is he has to state a specific place where he was and the witnesses who will put him there. The witnesses here are the cell phone pings. So the problem that we have here is that the prosecution is going to use cell phone pings to put him stalking these victims. Then they're going to have to deal with the fact that he says those same pings put him in the woods stargazing or whatever thing it is he's going to claim he's doing. And so I think that the cell phone pings may be helpful to, and interestingly so, to both sides, because remember, the defendants here The defense counsel has a job to maintain that this man is innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, and they are fighting
Mark
very
Tate.
hard. They have not made this
Mark
easy for the
Tate.
prosecution. Yes.
Mark Tate, when you're between a rock and a hard spot, do you just immediately regurgitate innocent till proven guilty? We all know that.
Absolutely.
Everybody watching
Yeah,
this
yeah.
program right now is illegal
Yes.
eagle. If his cell phone
Ew.
is moving along where they go, if they go to this food truck, there's his cell phone. If they go to that
Hey,
restaurant,
Muffy.
oop, there he is again.
How's it
I
going,
mean,
Muffy?
isn't it true, Dave Mack, that at one bar he was actually asked to leave because he was making female patrons feel totally skeeved out by asking them questions such as, hey, what's your home address?
Oh yeah, he freaked out. He actually scared people or women in this bar to a point where they actually made a note on the tickets when he had been there previously. It
Oh
wasn't
my
just one
gosh.
time, Nancy. He had been to this bar several times, and
Who's
each
talking?
time it got progressively worse to where none of the women wanted to wait on
That's
him
not the
anymore.
defense attorney talking.
So, to you, Karen Stark joining us, and boy,
Okay.
do we need a shrink. Karen Stark joining us.
Right, okay. Now we need to stop for a second. So, two things. Firstly, what was just said about, oh yeah, he would go in the bars and he'd like ask for what girls lived, is that right? And skeeve people out. Is that what they said? Should we go back?
Yeah, that's what they
Shall we go
said.
back? Yeah, that's what they said. Right. So, firstly, that's just a rumor. Complete utter hearsay. And unless he was, even if he was convicted of that, that's what's called a prior bad act. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it would not be admissible in court. No
more
way.
than likely, no.
No.
Unless it,
There's,
no,
go
yeah.
ahead. Go ahead.
No, like you can use prior bad acts, but it has to be like it shows character. It shows like
Propensity for that crime.
propensity. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So bothering some chicks in a bar, I can't see how that the door could be open for that. I mean,
No.
like someone like the defense would have to open the door for that to happen. For that
Yeah,
testimony to come in. It wouldn't just be allowed straight in.
no.
And so here's the problem, right? We are prior to trial, and this is a big story, a big case. And we have commentators like this woman, Nancy Grace, and she is no small influencer. She gets, let me have a look at her YouTube channel. She gets like 500,000 views per.
Yeah, she gets a lot.
Yeah, she's like guys, tell me. I mean, I say this every stream. I'm an Australian. Educate me. Like, she seems to be really, really famous.
Yeah.
To me. Yeah. And she actually has some influence over people's ideas as to whether or not someone is innocent or guilty. So when she spreads these rumors, when she puts these things out there, it's not like me just going, oh, yeah, I heard that he is a creep. I heard that that he goes around intimidating girls and he's a, an abuser or whatever. When she says it, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a really, really big deal. Yeah, she was involved in a Casey Anthony fiasco. I've heard Wicked Bookie, and hello, welcome. I've had a look back through the cases that she was involved in. I know from the Scott Peterson case, she was involved with that one. She goes back a long way, really, really long way. And her hair has always been the same.
Yes.
Always been the same. So it really bothers me that someone like this, who has this much influence over public opinion, can just throw these things out there so flippantly. And with it seems like has anything ever happened to her? has she ever had been brought into court and had to answer to anybody for doing
Yes.
this?
Talk show host Nancy Grace and CNN have settled a suit brought by the family of a young woman who committed self-unaliving in 2006 after being aggressively interviewed by Grace about the then recent disappearance of her 2-year-old son from her home. Ooh. Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, she's literally gotten people to self-delete after talking to them.
Freedom of speech. Yeah, well, it goes a little far sometimes, doesn't it? I mean, you want freedom of speech.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you want freedom of speech. But then again, doesn't this man have a constitutional right to a fair trial, and therefore, isn't there? Yeah, my doggy feels this way, right? Isn't therefore there's some limit to what kind of things can be put out into the public arena, which taint the jury pool? Yeah, defamation and libel exist as well. That's right. Okay, let's keep watching.
Again, I mean, isn't it true, Dave Mack, that at one bar he was actually asked to leave because he was making female patrons feel totally skeeved out by asking them questions such as, "Hey, what's your home address?"
Oh yeah, he freaked out. He actually scared people or women in this bar to a point where they actually made a note on the tickets when he had been there previously. It wasn't just one time, Nancy. He had been to this bar several times, and each time it got progressively worse to where none of the women wanted to wait on him anymore.
So, to you, Karen Stark joining us, and boy, do we need a shrink. Karen Stark joining us, renowned TV, radio, trauma expert, psychologist, consultant. That's KarenStark.com. Karen with a C. Karen, I'm going to circle back to the Pings potentially traveling along together. And Karen, I haven't even gotten to this dude wearing gloves to the grocery store. I don't mean gloves because it's cold outside. I mean surgeon gloves. Okay, to the grocery store, Karen Stark. This is not during COVID where people would, spray 409 on their candies before they touch them. This is now, the here and now. For weeks after the murders, this guy, Brian Kohberger, was wearing surgical gloves everywhere he went. I'll go back to that. But what do you make? And I'd like to hear the former roommate, one more time. This is Ashlyn Couch on a very emotional statement. And this is from our friends at KXLY. Listen.
I texted our group of friends, and I just had said, has anyone heard from Maddie? And I remember my last text message to her was are you okay? And I feel like right then and there, I kind of just knew that something was wrong.
Karen Stark, how many times have we heard that where a victim's family member or friend would know instinctively that something was horribly wrong? And there's a whole issue of survivor's guilt, Karen Stark. If I had called her earlier, if I had asked her out that night, if we had been at what
relevance has this got?
And then fill in the blank. That's what a lot of the friends are going through.
Of course they are, Nancy, because we all know what that's like when you think, if I had only been able to. And what's interesting, we all have, I'm pretty sure, that experience of you have a feeling, you have an instinct that something is wrong. And I know it happens to me. It used to happen with my mother all the time. It happens with my brother.
My brother,
my husband, sometimes
my sister's brother,
that you just have a feeling that something is going on with them. I think it's even happened between the two of us. I've had that with you. You've had it with me. When you know somebody really well, you are connected to them over distance, and you can feel it. And that's what she's describing. We can all relate to that. Wearing the gloves, that's him protecting himself. This is a man in
November of 2022.
Has to be on top of everything. And now he's wearing gloves so that you can't get near his DNA. I'm not surprised about that.
Joe Scott Morgan joining me, professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University, author of Blood Beneath My Feet on Amazon, and star of a hit series Body Bags with Joe Scott Morgan. Joe Scott, thank you for being with us. I know in your line of business, having been to over 10,000 death scenes in your career, you have had many people say, I knew something was wrong. And it's one thing
Well, the
to
dude's dead,
embellish
so.
the facts as you look back retrospectively.
Sorry.
But this young girl, Ashlyn Couch, was actually frantically trying to text all of her friends, trying to find out where is Maddie. Because, Joe Scott, you and I review a lot of evidence, it was atypical of Maddie not to respond. And that struck concern as the hours ticked by.
So there wasn't a premonition. It was from past experience.
It gives you pause. I
Yeah.
think when you're conducting an investigation, if someone deviates from their normal day-to-day routines, and particularly when you're talking about responding to friends that are considered to be within your intimate circle, that's something that would give an individual pause. But Nancy, I have another kind of chilling little side note about this.
Oh,
And this
chilling
young
side
lady,
note.
you know,
Chili?
she
Free
moved
chili.
on from her lease. And do you know when she moved on from her lease and turned it over? It approximates almost the same exact time that Kohberger shows up in Washington. This goes back to, I think, probably June, May, perhaps. And that's
She
another
knew.
little chilling piece to this. Can you imagine now, retrospectively, that Ashlyn is sitting back and thinking about this, that, you know, almost one of those there but for the grace of God go I moments. And again, it adds another layer of horror to this, Nancy.
Horror.
You know,
What are you
one thing
talking
I've
about?
really hated throughout this, Joe Scott Morgan, is the way
face?
that some of the victims have been portrayed as like party girls, tramps, staying
showed your
out
nipple
too
on live
late,
TV.
drinking. That's not true. Yes, they were out that night. They were heading into the Thanksgiving weekend. They
She
were
said
not out any
tramps.
later than any other student would be on a party
I
night.
haven't heard anyone else say
None
that.
of these
She said
girls
that.
have arrest histories. Nothing like that. They're all making good grades. They're beloved by their family. And you know what, Joe Scott Morgan? As I always say, birds of a feather flock together. When I look at Ashlyn Couch and I hear her speak, that tells me not only who she is, but who her friends are. I mean, Joe Scott, I don't see you hanging out with the dope dealer down at the corner. Why? Because you have nothing in common. In college, in law school, people go, hey, did you go to that party Friday night? I'm like, no, I was studying. I got 2 jobs and I've got to get through law school and I got to pass the bar on the first try. That's not what I was doing. I had my eye on a different prize. When I look at Ashlyn Couch, the good girl,
You think?
that tells me who these victims were. And I've had it about up to here with people trashing them or their parents or their mom or I think it's so wrong. And that is going to happen at this trial unless the judge wakes up and pays attention.
One of the things I find
God damn, that
fascinating
Sixth
about
Amendment.
her interaction, and particularly where she was domiciled in this location. And, you know, you were mentioning earlier, could she testify? This is what
Could
I
she
think personally
testify?
that she's going to testify to.
This is what I think.
Kind of the standard
personally.
rattle and hum of what it was like living in that home. Remember, as you had mentioned, talking about partying and all this sort of thing, one of the things that came out early on in this case was this thought that this was party central, right? No one knows the codes
I've
to the
never seen
door. It's
anything
always
about them being
open. The
trashed.
sliders are open. People can come and go as they please. Well, Ashlyn, I think,
Actually,
kind of from a historic standpoint,
just a second. No, half hours. That's not true. I have seen things about the surviving ones being trashed. So I haven't seen anything about the actual victims, as in the decedents being trashed.
Yeah.
No. I've seen things about the was it Dylan Mortensen? And sorry, mind blank on the other one, but mainly Dylan, the one who didn't call 911 until 9 hours later.
And that's just sus.
And then she's gone into a different state and refuses to testify.
Does she?
That one. Yeah. Yeah. It's just
Can't they subpoena her from out of state?
Um,
It depends, I know, but
there's a lot of controversy around her testifying.
She can at least do it by Zoom. Good Lord.
Yep. Doesn't want to testify, won't testify. And yeah, it doesn't seem like the state's doing much to try and get that to happen. Yes, statements are on record, done.
That's critical for the defense.
I know. Yep. There's been so much talk about why are these people not testifying. So yeah, there's a lot of discussion about those roommates and what happened. Like, why did 9 hours pass? And then it's like, well, how can you blame these people? They would be in shock. Blah, blah, blah. But then again, 9 hours passed.
Yeah.
It's like, what happened in that 9 hours? Yeah, so it's tricky. It's really tricky. Because, yeah, I mean, there's this moment of, I saw this person with the bushy eyebrows and he said, don't worry, I'm going to help you. And then she just went into her room and 9 hours passed. And then the phone call. So weird. So many questions. Just so many questions. So many questions. So anyway, and then also, like, recently, I think it was just before the anniversary in November, there were those pictures of Dylan partying, which came out, and I did not like all that garbage that went around online about that. So everyone was making a big deal of her partying and kissy faces and all that kind of stuff, and it's like, well, people were like, oh, how dare she party? And it's like, well, she can party. That's fine. She's a young 20-year-old something. That's cool. You know, like, she get on with her life. Why shouldn't she get on with her life? Should she be sad every single day of her life now? No. But yeah, I would really like to know. She needs to go and stand on the witness stand like everybody else. Yeah, she needs to be cross-examined. Olan Red Dylan will absolutely testify. They have had a lot of trouble getting a pre-trial interview with the defense, which in Idaho I don't think they are obligated to do. If it was Florida, they'd have to. Yeah. Look, Olan Red, I don't see how she could not. But I mean, maybe it's just a rumor mill. Maybe it's just there's so much rumor mill. But people keep saying that she won't be testifying in a trial for reasons. But I don't see you're right. I don't see how it's possible she can't testify, wouldn't testify. Let's see how that's possible.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So just before we go on, I don't understand why Nancy Grace thinks that it's okay, or why she thinks that her take on these students' lifestyles is correct, right? Why did she know these people? She didn't, right? She didn't. And I know it's not nice to speak bad of the past, of the people who have passed, the dead. And no one is really, that's not really the point. Like, no one really wants to, I don't think. But she's making out like they were saints, right? They're all good girls, good boys, whatever. They're all studying. I've had it up to here with people saying that they were party girls and they were tramps and whatever. That's not the point, Nancy. Like, what's that got to do with anything? You're making out like they were just studying and they were there and they were all like little Catholic choir boys and stuff. And you don't know them, so stop trying to change the narrative to exactly what you want it to be. You don't know them, so stop it. Okay, so John, it's creepy and it's kooky, mysterious and spooky. is altogether ooky. It's Nancy Grace's hair. Snap, snap. Very good, John Common. Thank you for the super chat. You're awesome. Love you. Love you. What's this online? I also think people are conflating the pre-trial with trial testimony because it was a huge kerfuffle right when Anne took over the case. She wants to talk to Dylan. I bet she wants to talk to Dylan. Yeah, that's fair enough. There's just so much talk out there. Even from lawyers online, and I don't mean the lawyers in our circle, but I mean there are lawyers talking on lots of different channels, and I've been looking at what a lot of different people are saying, and people are messing things up and confusing the issue. So yeah, there's a lot of misinformation being put out there. So I'm not surprised that that things are being conflated, as you say. So anyway, let's keep going. And then you've got people like Nancy Grace,
And
who
Dolly
said
Todd.
she's a lawyer as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will be able to talk about that as she lived there. And this is not something that perhaps just occurred out of the blue. If this was a party location, it had been a party location for a while. And I think that that's going to be rather probative in this case.
Hey, and another thing about that, Joe Scott Morgan, I will never forget. I moved into off-campus housing with some other co-eds. This is an undergrad.
Here we go. Oh, this is a good story,
and
guys.
I
Listen to
had
this.
my parents come visit. I got it all ready and cleaned it, everything. Well, wouldn't you know, this was on a Saturday night. They were coming Sunday after church. I was waiting on them. Little did I know
They found
that
a
the
condom?
guys below me, I lived on the top floor, the SAEs. I had no idea who they were. I never knew them. Had a huge kegger in the front yard. And somebody had spray painted curse words all on the interior of when my parents walked in. I'm not even going to say what they were, but they alluded to sex acts. And my parents walked in and see this in red spray paint. I had not even seen it. I was, mortified. So I think you're right. This girl, Ashton Couch, could testify to, you say, the hum and the flow of living there. But I was thinking about something else, Joe Scott. I was thinking about, that sliding glass door that Chris McDonough and I kept looking at, wondering if that was the point of entry. I wonder if she could testify if it locked, if it was easily accessible. Yes, that one. Thank you. And there's one on each level. Were there ever alarms in the home?
Okay.
So
honestly,
many things.
When I watched that and thought about it, I was like, hang on a minute. She was asleep all night. She didn't even hear anything. Maybe those boys downstairs actually knew that her parents were coming and did all that
just to mess with her.
Just to mess with her. They did much like Nancy upstairs. The shock and the horror. No, it's not relevant. It's just that she keeps telling stories about herself. That's why. Because she had just to talk about how perfect she was.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, during these parties, could somebody sneak in and out that wasn't invited? You see where I'm headed? She is really a Pandora's box of information about the murder scene.
Yeah, she is. And, you talk about the functionality of the store's access and opportunity. Of course, she's going to be the only one to be able to tell that tale now, isn't she, Nancy? Because we can't go back to the physical structure. So she's going to be able to talk about it. I hope that
you've got the two roommates that survived. Remember?
Yeah, we do. But I think that perhaps in this particular case, when it gets down to it, can she actually, and again, this goes back to history. If the door was not functioning, the lock did not work. How far back in time does she go as like this place, her place of residence? How long had it been, for instance, if it was, how long had it not been functioning? I'd like to know the answer to that question. And the points of access. Could someone be heard coming in through that door? Again, acoustically, she's going to be able to testify to that.
A friend of an officer working the Brian Kohberger murder investigation says Kohberger was very careful in the days before his arrest. The source says the cop followed Kohberger in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, and observed him wearing plastic gloves while picking up groceries at a local Giant store. The cop also said that Kohberger's cell phone pings matched the movements of the victims for weeks before the murders.
Oh, just wait till the jury hears this. Listen, you cannot, under the law, under the U.S. Constitution, as it has been interpreted through case law, cases that have occurred after the Constitution, of course, you cannot bring in a suspect, a defendant's bad reputation.
No, you can't.
You cannot bring in evidence of bad acts unless they can be verified and they are similar to the case in chief and were in a timely manner. But here, when the police surveillance, if this is confirmed, police surveillance are following Kohberger and they see him wearing plastic gloves into the grocery store, apparently wearing plastic surgical type gloves for weeks after the murders. Why? And you're going to hate this, Mark Tate, which makes me super happy. Mark Tate, renowned defense attorney. You know what I love to tell a jury? If you don't know a horse, look at his track record. Hold it. Number one, while these same...
Okay, wait. She's about to go off on a big rant, right? But before we start, I just wanted to go back a second to where she's saying this evidence comes from, because she goes, oh, wait till the jury hears this, because chat, I want to ask you guys together, let's piece this together, because she said that a friend of a cop said that friend of a law enforcement officer said that he was seen going to the grocery store in the weeks after the murders, wearing these plastic gloves, right? A friend of a law enforcement officer said he was seen going to the grocery store in the weeks following the murders, going out with the plastic gloves. Now, wouldn't there be CCTV of him, therefore, right? There'd be plenty of footage of him doing that. Yeah? Now, if that's relevant, that would be in discovery, right? That footage would be in discovery. That the defense would know about it. It'd be there. There'd be no question. Yeah. So there's no need for there to be conjecture as to whether or not he actually was wearing these gloves around after the murders. If he was wearing the gloves in everyday life around, like going to the grocery store, etc., it would exist. There would be footage. There would be evidence, right? It wouldn't be them covertly taking footage of it. It would be like out and about on CCTV, him at the grocery store, right? So I'm just putting that out there before she starts going on her rant. Whether or not that gets allowed in is another question, right? But anyway, can you just move away? His butt's right in the way.
Cops were watching Kohberger. They knew they were going to arrest him. They were trying to get DNA evidence. They already had some DNA evidence. Now they needed the dad's DNA evidence, and there's the dad right there driving along with Kohberger. The dad's just chatting away like nothing's wrong. The Kohberger's like, what the hell? Why are the cops pulling us over? Look at the dad. He's totally relaxed. Kohberger's like, what? Okay.
Yeah, because he's the one driving. I'm not.
They're watching Kohberger, and they see Kohberger outside putting the family trash in the neighbor's trash cans, the dumpster, wearing gloves. Wait, not done yet. Not done yet. There were other times he's seen wearing gloves. Why? Why is he wearing gloves all the time, Mark Tate? And how do you think that is going to affect a jury? Oh,
Well,
I
this
know
is
what it
also
was. It came to
yeah,
me.
what,
Wait a
what?
minute. I got to tell you one more. So when they
Okay.
arrest Kohberger, when they arrest him, when they go into his parents' home in the Poconos, they go in. It's like 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Kohberger's
Sure.
standing there in the kitchen. Why is he up and everybody else is asleep in the middle of the night?
I
In
don't know,
shorts
Nancy. Didn't you tell me
and
you got up at
surgical
3:30 this morning?
gloves.
Well, no one's checking out what you're wearing at 3 o'clock in the morning, but you
I
were
can
up
tell
too.
you
It's
this
kind of
much.
hilarious.
I did have
It
on
wasn't
surgical
gloves.
gloves.
All right. Well, so
So
here's the
here I've
deal.
You're
got
a
3
glove.
instances, and that's just off the top of my head.
You've
What if
got
the cops
3
can
instances
tell
of
me
him
about
wearing
more
gloves, and
instances?
wait. In one instance, he was throwing trash away. Can you think of a better reason to wear gloves? Now, in the other instances, what I would say,
Yeah.
as
So
a
the cops
defense,
can't get my DNA after a quadruple murder.
well,
That's a good reason.
yeah, I understand that. No, I got you. But maybe throwing trash away, it's okay to wear
Wanna go
gloves.
out?
I don't know. That's not something I think I'd rest my hat on as a prosecutor. However,
In other words, you're
every
a scum.
single
I
time
would
that you mention,
totally
well, then
put
you
that
might
in
have
my
a problem
opening
winning this
statement.
case. I mean, you're not prosecuting it. So every single time that a prosecutor comes up with a new piece of evidence that requires witnesses to get in, as a defense lawyer, I find that to be wonderful because
This
that
is
gives
a
me a whole
spoken
other
defense lawyer.
opportunity to ask questions that may or may not help me argue that there is a reason to have a doubt about the guilt of this man. And every witness is vulnerable. And some of these people are going to rely on are not experienced in handling the cross-examination that I intend to bring them. And if I'm able to say at the end of the case that the prosecutor relies on this person who's unreliable, then why should you convict? We saw it happen. You and I saw it happen together when a man who murdered a woman and the man who was driving his Ferrari around town walked because a glove didn't fit. And I'm just saying that there is no foregone conclusion in any jury trial, and these defense lawyers are going to put this prosecution team to the test, clearly.
Look at it.
To Chris McDonough joining me, veteran homicide
That's it?
detective and star. No.
Okay, sis.
I'm going to somebody that's let me just
That's
say
going to agree with you.
a
That's gonna
little
agree
less
with you.
impeachable. Chris McDonough. Have you ever heard, which apparently they did not teach this to Mark Tate in moot
Oh,
court
she
in
is
law school.
pissed off.
It's SDSU. Sit down and shut up. Okay? That's just one of those things you should learn. It's hard for us lawyers to do that because we think we can just keep talking and then suddenly everybody's going to agree with us.
He was good, wasn't
You
he?
tell 12 people that this guy has got on surgical gloves in the grocery store. You know why he did that, right? If this can be confirmed, because he's heard about all those cases we've been talking about. Wait till Joe Scott Morgan jumps in on DNA, where cops can get your DNA
Okay, I'll let
off
you
a
out.
beer can,
All
a
right.
coffee cup, a
do you
pizza
mean?
crust.
Let the cat
This
out.
guy was wearing gloves when he was getting rid of trash in the neighbor's Dixie dumpster.
His DNA
when
filled
he was
trash.
sorting through trash and putting it into
DNA
plastic
trash
Ziploc
with
bags in
DNA
his
on
kitchen,
it.
his parents' kitchen, and it just goes on and on and on. I can't wait for a jury of 12 regular people like us to hear this guy about his surgical gloves
Retard.
all around the time of the murders.
Yeah, absolutely, Nancy. I mean, it just happens to be a coincidence that, he decides to throw his trash out in his neighbor's bin. And then, of course, he
Maybe they
takes
share
these
bins.
4
His was
a.m.
full.
drives, or at least he's awake at 4 a.m. Every moment you think about this guy. If you look at all of his phone pings, does the guy ever sleep?
Well, maybe hang on.
He
This
hasn't.
is actually a really good point because this actually plays to his alibi. It's funny you're all talking about how unusual it is that he was awake at 2, 3, 4 a.m. when he was
That's
arrested.
literally
because
his alibi.
That's exactly what his alibi was. His alibi was that he couldn't sleep, and he's usually not asleep at those times. He has trouble sleeping, and so he's like up. He goes for drives, hiking, running, looking at the stars. Hello, that's his alibi. So yeah, maybe that's not unusual for him. Dear me. And just P.S. by the way, he is a criminologist. He knows a thing or two about touch DNA and stuff like that. I tell you what, if he wasn't a OCD germaphobe before all of this. He sure is now, because a teensy weensy little bit of touch DNA has just gotten him potentially the death penalty. And if he didn't do this, let's assume he didn't for a moment. Something that he touched maybe at a garage sale, or something that he touched and then that touched something else that touched the that knife sheath, has ended up putting him in this situation. I'd never touch anything again. And I'd be wearing gloves for the goddamn rest of my life.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's just by the by. But I do remember around that COVID period, people were so worried about touching things.
Yeah.
And that went on for quite a while.
People still wear masks around me.
Yeah.
And he could just be an OCD germaphobe.
It might not be anything to do with COVID. It might just be that, yeah, some people just really don't want to touch things and stuff. So, as the defense attorney, token defense attorney guy said, I wouldn't hang my hat on that as a prosecutor. Yep, let's keep going.
You know where we're not seeing these gloves, though? One, all of these glove incidents show up post-incident. But you know where we're not seeing it? We're not seeing it in the classroom before the incident. We're not seeing it in any of the photos of traffic stops where he stopped before the homicides. And guess what? We're not seeing it in the courtroom today. So I don't know what the deal is, you know, that a jury wouldn't, you know, say, why is this guy wearing gloves at 4 a.m.? And, you know, good luck for the defense on, you know, trying to sell that.
Hey, hold on. Let me throw this to our DNA expert, Joseph Scott Morgan, professor of forensics. You know, all of this is just anecdotal. My back and forth with Mark Tate, that anecdotal, telling a story. Okay. Can we talk about hard evidence? If it's true to look at the horse's track record, you know what that would tell me? That he wore surgical gloves at some point that night, okay, when he was in that home murdering those 4 people. And you may ask Joe Scott Morgan, then how would his DNA be on the knife sheath? I'll tell you why. How many times do you think an anal compulsive like Brian Kohberger had practiced opening that knife and fiddling with that knife and playing with that knife and admiring that knife? That's how the DNA got on there. I think he wore surgical gloves that night, and I would be very surprised if we find his actual fingerprints anywhere in that home.
It'd be tough to find, I think, and we probably would have an indication of that. But yeah, I've held throughout this, you know, when they found that sheath and that contact DNA was there. I want to hear that word from Nancy. Snap. I always had this idea of him actuating the button, you know, sitting there with that snap, trying to flick it back and forth to see how smoothly he could do that. And some people have said, and I've had people say this to me about this, well, why wasn't his DNA found on other locations on the sheath? And this is what I submit. I think that he may have wiped that sheath down at some point in time, but the devil is always in the details, Nancy. That little hidden underneath side of that snap, which I think is where they probably recovered it, is not a place that you would commonly consider to wipe it down if you're looking to, you know, get rid of anything that was there that would be an identifier for you. It's an area that he may have missed, and he left it behind in that one tiny area. I'm also interested in what type of gloves he had at his home. Did they find other gloves? So that's going to be a big tell in this case, Nancy.
A friend of an officer working the Brian Kohberger murder investigation says Kohberger was very careful in the days before his arrest. The source says the cop followed Kohberger in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, and observed him wearing plastic gloves while picking up groceries at a local Giant store. The cop also said that Kohberger's cell phone pings matched the movements of the victims for weeks before the murders.
This to talk about the different parts of that video that we've received and how we need the whole context. This is the video that they say places this car near the residence. We've received little tiny pieces of that. And we think Brian's right to a fair trial means the public needs to know that they've withheld the audio from a great portion of that, and that it starts a long time before the little clip that we've received.
Man, is she burying the lead. She's complaining about the audio not being attached to the video. Here's the bombshell. There you are hearing the defense attorney for Brian Kohberger, Ann Taylor, talking about the existence of video that places Kohberger's car, the white Elantra, near the crime scene. Yeah, that's a big deal.
Not his white
We
Elantra.
believe that there is going to be 2 different video clips shown to the jury. One near the home and one near the gas station there at the corner. And I'm going to let Chris McDonough describe the gas station video, what he believes it will portray, and what the video at the home we believe is going to portray. Guys, with me, an all-star panel to make sense of what we know right now. Oh, you know what? I was just having my tea, and I didn't want to leave fingerprints on the cup, so I just thought I would use these. Okay. But that said, go ahead, Chris McDonough. Everybody take off your gloves. I promise not to collect your DNA.
She's going to give you a happy ending massage.
Go ahead.
What?
Yep. So Nancy, love the gloves. Right next to the murder scene, there's a house right on the corner there. And outside in the light socket for the front porch was an active surveillance camera. I believe that.
Okay. Hang on, Mercer. So the license plate in Idaho, they don't have to have license plates on the front of the car. And yeah, and that white Elantra that was caught on those videos didn't have a license plate on the front. And most of, well, in fact, I believe all of the video that was any good was caught from the front. So I believe that there is no discernible video caught from the back of the Elantra that shows a license plate. If there had been, then we'd all know about it very well, because that car has not been identified as definitely being Kohberger's car. We've all been really aware of that all along. That's not definitely his car. In fact, it's not even definitely a white Elantra. There's been speculation as to whether or not it even completely matches up in shape with a white Elantra, because it's so blurry. Like it was moving, and we're talking about like ring camera footage and stuff like that. It just, like, the white Elantra wasn't stationary. They're always moving shots. So anyway, so yeah, not a positive match.
The evidence will show that that car comes up that street multiple times, and those are the clips that they're holding back, as well as the additional piece of evidence that they're going to show is away from the scene. They're going to show that vehicle was either A, coming into the crime scene area, and or B, leaving. And I don't know if they're going to be able to correlate that in relationship to some of the phone pings, because remember, he turned his phone off. So, that in of itself is going to be interesting. Now, one other thing I just want to make a point on here is, the defense is saying they need to see this video, yet they held the alibi for over a year. So my sense is they're still working on that particular forensic side of the evidence that's going to be presented.
Guys, I want to hear exactly what the defense attorney, Ann Taylor, said. And in her whining about the video, what are we learning? Listen.
Part of the hearing on the 14th is to talk about the different parts of that video that we've received and how we need the whole context. This is the video that they say places this car near the residence. We've received little tiny pieces of that. And we think Brian's right to a fair trial means the public needs to know that they've withheld the audio from a great portion of that, and that it starts a long time before the little clip that we've received.
To Joseph Scott Morgan, forensic expert and professor at Jacksonville State University, I was listening to every word she says. Ann Taylor is complaining about little tiny pieces of the video placing the car near the residence, according to police, and she doesn't like that, and she thinks that's not fair. But what it is different video cameras picking him up along the way. Did you decipher that? Or am I feeding you, spoon feeding you?
No, here's the thing. You know, these ring cams and CCTV, obviously, they're more prevalent today than at any other point in time in history. And so we don't necessarily know about where all of these clips are coming from. We do know the area that he was in, allegedly, this car moving back and forth, is going to be the most densely populated area in this geographic location. You know, you get out in these areas that are far flung. Remember the loop that they talk about, that where they were trying to collect images off of these gas station cams and wherever else the car may have passed. This is going to be the target rich area, though, around that residence at that point in time, because you never know. You know, and you think about, just for instance, you think about one of these cars like a Tesla, for instance, that has an indwelling cam that can pick things up. Did they shake the bushes enough to collect enough of this data out there to piece this thing completely together? Apparently, she thinks they may have, Nancy.
I can't get over her saying that she was whining.
That his alibi is he was out driving around that night. We knew that already. And if that's his alibi, so be it. What the defendant has still failed to do is to comply with Idaho Code 19-519 and Idaho Court Rule 1221 that specifically requires a defendant to provide identified names of witnesses who will be called to support the alibi along with their addresses.
Latah County prosecutors have again asked the court to prohibit the defense from calling witnesses in support of Brian Kohberger's alibi. That Kohberger was driving around rural areas the night of the murders, not specific enough to be used in an alibi defense. The state argues Kohberger has been allotted more time than he is legally entitled to provide a specific alibi, and that if witnesses are allowed to support the current alibi, prosecutors will not have the ability to investigate or respond to any new claims.
Okay, the alibi was ripped apart by the prosecutor in the last hearing, and there's a very good reason for that. Just as the state has to hand over all of their witnesses and how to contact their witnesses for the defense to have the opportunity to interview them prior to trial, the defense has to do that too. So why is it that the only corroboration, Mark Tate, that Kohberger is bringing on is a set of cell phone pings?
But there's nothing wrong with that. The prosecution has indicated they're going to rely on cell phone pings. And the law about alibi in Idaho is anytime after arraignment, you're allowed to tell the prosecutors rather, that you're going to rely on alibi and you have to disclose your witnesses. However, here, the witnesses are cell phone pings. Just like the prosecution's relying on cell phone pings, so is the defendant allowed to rely as well. Now, of course, that's going to be put in front of a jury, just like issues about whether he wore gloves and how strange that is. All of that will be admitted by witnesses, all of whom are subject to a sifting cross-examination. And so now the prosecution knows there's going to be an alibi defense, and when there is, it has to be supported by admissible evidence. And so with each witness comes the chance to demonstrate reasonable doubt.
You're just reading the criminal code on evidence to me. I got it.
That's right.
Hey,
so that's
Liz,
what the defense lawyer has to do. That's what they have to do.
Let's give Mark
They have
Tate
to hold the prosecution feet to the fire. Well, what is it? You going to make me wear gloves?
Cell phone pings. I've got a pair here for you, but maybe you could borrow Kohberger's. Oh wait, no, they're in evidence. Hey, look at this. You know, as we were talking earlier, joining me, Chris McDonough, you were talking about the pings, and you didn't get to say it on air. But Tate is all about, the pings are going to help exonerate him. Wait a minute. Okay, he's at home, 2:42. He's at home, back at home at 5:27. He's at home at 9:32 a.m. But wait a minute. 4:50, phone ping. 4:48, phone turned back on. Wait, 2:47 a.m. right before the murders, in the middle of the night while he's out stargazing, he decides to turn his phone off.
Okay, you know what? I need to stop it right there. Nancy Grace, you are spreading misinformation right there. Never anywhere does it say that he turned his phone off, right? Nowhere does it ever say that his phone was turned off. All that ever happened was that that phone stopped connecting to the cellular network, right? So to have that up there say that the phone was turned off at 2:47 a.m. is incorrect, right? So all that happened was the phone was somewhere where it could not connect to the cellular network, right? Like maybe Hawaii Park, right? Hawaii Park is a long way to the west and it is very thin mobile coverage. Right now, here's why the FBI cast report is so important, and it's why Ann Taylor has been pushing so hard. And you know what? The motion to compel was middle of 2023 for that cast report. So it has been what? July 2023. It's been like over nearly a year since the motion to compel for that cast report came out, right? They still have not coughed that up. So there is information in that cast report, and I'm talking about GPS data. I'm talking about stuff from Google. I'm talking about stuff from Facebook. I'm talking about the kind of information that can track you down to within a couple of meters. You know how, like, if you've got like Life 360 on your phone, or Find My iPhone, that kind of information, and it's sitting up on the cloud. All right, so we're talking about cloud-based stuff, and it's not like these phone pings, right? So this is the kind of stuff that can, if like my daughter, for example, she walks to school, and I can see her walking to school. I can see her every couple of meters, her location changes, right? Or if you've got an Apple iTag, for example, you can see if it's your luggage, you can see it moving, right? So this is so much more sensitive than something like a cell phone tower ping, because a cell phone tower ping, all it is, it covers a really wide range, right? So if this particular graph with whatever they use that they've made here looks like he's actually at those spots, which is not true at all. All those are cell phone towers, right? And they've decided to make it look like he's at those spots. That's not true at all. So anyone who's actually seen cell phone tower pings shown in court, they'll show you at them as more like pie charts, right? So they'll show you them kind of like, see the graphic that I've got over there? See, like the circles, right? So they're more like there's a cell phone tower in the middle, and they're more like the amount of space that he could have been around that area. They're not one spot. So the FBI has a bunch of information that hasn't come forth in discovery, and that Ann Taylor has been asking for since July last year. And that phone being turned off stuff is absolutely a lie. No one's ever said the phone was turned off. It just stopped connecting to the network, and he could have been somewhere with very low cell tower coverage. But you know what? He had a degree in cloud-based forensics. It's very, very possible that when he was arrested, he went to his lawyer at the time. Look, mate, I don't know where I was. All I know is I've got my phone on with me all the time. I handed it over, but there'll be something to show where I was. Just get it for me. Get me out of this. I didn't do it. Just get me out of it. It'll be on my phone. Here, just tell him to look on my phone. Just tell him to look on my phone. There'll be something there. Yeah. And here we are, a year and a half later, and they haven't found it. But for sure, there'll still be something there. It's just the FBI won't bring it out.
Yeah,
there you go.
they won't show it.
Yeah, they haven't shown it because you know what? They have to subpoena these other companies like Google and Apple and Verizon, whoever it is, all these other companies, right? And they can do it. It's easy. Like they've probably already done it. They would have done it. The cast report exists. And I don't know tons about this. Brian Kohberger knows about this. That's what his degree is in. I've just been like reading up on it in the last few weeks. Cy Ray, his expert, the defense expert, he knows about this. This is the problem. These people know about this. The people in the defense team know about this. But Nancy Grace, I reckon she knows about this. I reckon her researchers know about this. But they're fine to just present it like this. Present it their side of it because it makes it look like it's all just about the cell tower pings. People in the public understand cell towers. They understand these things that they can see at these cell towers. All right. So if you are pinging a cell tower, that means I'm here. Cool. Understand that? Right. So he was there, and that just means that his phone was off. You said it was off. Cool. I understand that. Done. The trial won't be till at least 2025. All right, let's keep going.
From 247 to 448. Wow. Chris McDonough, isn't that exactly when the time the murders occurred?
Yeah, absolutely, Nancy. And what's interesting about that, and you pointed it out, was, the one thing we learned about this alibi as well is all 4 of the victims are sound asleep. And, the 12 other times that he was seen around that neighborhood, they were also asleep. But in this particular case, you have the phone pings that get up to the point where they turn off. And then all of a sudden, the video picks it back up in the neighborhood, i.e. the car. So, to try to sell that, from the defense, whenever you hear a defense attorney say, the public has a right to know, and there's a gag order, that's usually a clue that there's something coming.
Kohberger has spent over 500 days in jail awaiting trial. Every day in the jail cost $194, totaling nearly $100,000 so far. Kohberger's defense team bills over $500 an hour.
Here we go.
The hours police spent cost nearly $1 million. The University of Idaho left with a massive bill, spending $1.4 million on increased security and another $200,000 on counseling and a vigil. Its estimated taxpayers spent roughly $3.6 million as a result of the murders.
Dave Mack, what did I just hear?
For Brian Kohberger's defense team to pretty much spend at will. Never heard of anything like this in my life, Nancy Grace.
Okay, a total of $3.6 million the taxpayers have paid for Kohberger?
When they say we pay the taxpayer money, I wish they would actually send me a questionnaire about what I'm willing to pay for, ahead of time.
Fuck
because
you.
This is ridiculous.
$3.6 million on Kohberger and
It's a
all
death
of his
penalty case.
defense attorneys and
It's a
experts.
death
We're
penalty
now
case.
learning about Kohberger bringing on another expert to try and shore up his alibi. Cha-ching! Listen.
The document file serves as Kohberger's official alibi and claims, quote, Mr. Kohberger was out driving in the early morning hours of November 13, 2022, as he often did to hike and run and or see the moon and stars.
Yeah,
he drove throughout
that's
the
right,
area
Richard
south of
Wilkie.
Pullman, Washington, west of Moscow, Idaho, including Hawaii Park. To further solidify his alibi, Kohberger said he plans to offer testimony from a CSLI expert to
$2.
show that he was south of Pullman and west of Moscow at the time of the murders and that he did not travel east on the Moscow-Pullman highway in the early morning hours of November 13, 2022.
Okay, Chris McDonough, what is a CSLI expert?
That expert, Nancy, will be an individual that will be able to tell investigators and or the jury what the signature is of that phone, i.e., the information coming out of that phone to the nearby cell towers.
To you, Karen Stark, I hope the state doesn't get bogged down in a lot of scientific evidence. That's what happened in the Tot Mom Casey
they never
Anthony
do that.
trial where she killed her daughter Kelly and was acquitted. But
No.
that evidence was true, but it did get bogged down. You know what? Once the jury hears that after the murders, this guy went everywhere wearing plastic gloves. I mean, I don't need an expert to tell me that's evidence of guilt. And I don't mean just that, Karen Stark, not just that, of course. The DNA on the knife, the fact that he ordered the exact same knife and sheath from Amazon, but it's missing. Nobody can find it. The cell phone, the video string cobbled together where we see his movements that night. There's so much evidence, Karen, much less this.
You're talking about a guy who needs complete control and dominance, Nancy. I know this is going to come out. I mean, how telling is it that the phone is on and right before the murders, he turns it off? And that to me is completely compelling. And this guy, he has a history of staring at women to the point where they throw him out of restaurants. But he's been complained about. He's been said that he's odd. He takes control.
So now you're saying I could have been
In a classroom. He has how to do murder.
Oh, he's odd. Okay, so I did it.
Expertise.
Well, Karen. He studies how to do murders. He studies how to do murders.
He's odd and he's not good at interacting with women. Guilty. First of all, that's 90% of the males alive today.
Dolly, careful. Don't wear gloves. Oh, kitty cat. Hi. Oh, yeah, don't wear gloves.
No, I'll just wear gloves that don't fit. Then I'll get away with it.
Gloves. Yeah. My gloves.
Oh, do you know how great that would be if that's the line? How can these be his gloves? They make him put on the gloves.
Yeah. Like, look, my hands are too
I
big.
can't get them in. I don't know what's going on here. Oh, please let there be a glove don't fit. You must have quit moment.
Oh, wow.
Oh, if his defense attorney is going to use that too.
This is ridiculous. And he turned his phone off. That's such a Zach thing. And there's premonitions too now.
Oh, God, the premonition.
What's going on? What's going on? There's so much evidence. So much evidence. By the way, whilst I've got it paused, Half Irish. Yeah, there is. You said that there's a dead zone. Yeah, there is a dead zone. It's the Hawaii Park. So, where is it? Hang on, just bring up your thing.
Yeah, find out if is it a white Bronco or a white Elantra?
It's a white Elantra. Yeah. So Half Irish. Yeah, I've seen the commentary on the where he was during the 2 hours, and that's going to come up big time at the hearing. So FYI, guys, on Saturday, your Friday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to be streaming the witness who can't be seen at the 30th hearing, the hearing on the 30th. I hope it's Cy Ray. Cy Ray is the cloud-based data expert. And I really hope he's going to be talking on why, for God's sake, he needs this cast FBI data. And if he doesn't get the cast FBI data, then that proves that the state and the feds are hiding something and therefore can't use their data to show that he was anywhere else near the house that night. Right. So if you can't use if the defense can't use the phone data, then neither can the state use the phone data. You can't have one thing without the other. But yeah, the other thing is the Cyber has his own software called Trax, and that should on its own be able to be used, and hopefully we'll be able to show where Kohberger was that night. And I'm not sure whether he needs further stuff from the state in order to be able to align it with the phone. I expect he probably does. His software can triangulate bits and bobs, like use algorithms to place Kohberger's phone where it should, where he says it was, which is Hawaii Park. And Hawaii Park is like 40 miles or something away from the house. So it does not fit with the timeline that the state's putting forward. And the very thin cell phone coverage that explains why the phone was not connecting to the network at that time. Very important. Very important. So it blows the state's case apart. All right. We have 5 memberships. John, we have 5 memberships. You're awesome. Where are we?
Do you want me to read them?
Please. Let's go.
Veil of Desalination. Nike. Mystery Sniper. Annie. John Hood 2004. Was gifted a membership.
John who? Oh, John.
John H.
John H 2004. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay! Thank you, John. That's lots of gifted memberships in 2 days. You're just like the nicest person. You're so sweet and generous. Love you. Love you, love you, love you, love you, love you, love you, love you. Don't go talking to feds about your testosterone sourcing. Okay.
Yeah, because my first doctor that I got testosterone from was raided by the feds. Is that what you're talking about, Wookie, or was it some other joke?
Okay. TMI.
Yeah. No, yeah, I had to talk to a detective. I got interrogated.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you say, I don't want to talk to you, you're a fed?
No, because I wanted to get information from them. So.
Oh, you were using them to your advantage.
Yeah.
Right.
But no, they were so good at that. Oh my God. They got me singing like a canary.
They got you singing like a canary.
Yeah. And the guy's like fiddling with his phone that's obviously recording me on the desk.
Right. Okay.
Start. It hasn't come out yet, and I don't think that it will be part of the evidence because it will be very inflammatory. But when I was in Moscow and around Pullman speaking to people there, several female students came up to talk about how angry he would act at them, graded them much more severely than he did men. I mean, it was very compelling evidence that this guy hates women. I mean, I had to be a shrink to figure out why, but I bet the jury will never hear all that.
Didn't he also kill
everything
men?
Changing every day in the lead up to this trial? Let's stop and remember American hero, Captain Jack Casey, just 26. Casey passed away with 4 other Marines in a helicopter crash this February. A U.S. Marine, he earned the National Defense Service Medal. He is survived by grieving wife Emma.
Notice how she changes her tone of voice, and James, suddenly she's American hero, softly spoken.
Captain Jack Casey. Everyone, I want to thank you for being with us tonight.
Except for that one dickhead.
Friends joining us at MSM and all across the country. Thank you to our guests as well. Nancy Gray signing off. I'll see you tomorrow night, 6 and 9 o'clock sharp Eastern. And until then,
enjoy my nipple.
Okay, that was really painful. Did you confirm they were even in his classes? Yeah, good question, Benjamin Gray. I bet that she just completely took their word for it, that he was the person that graded them badly, just completely took their word for it, that he mistreated them, that he hated women, that he was some sort of misogynist, that he was scary, that he was odd, that he was all these nasty things. Also, just that last bit about the money that's all costing, that really, really bothered me. That whole discussion about the money. What do you think, Dolly?
Yeah, no, the state's putting millions of dollars into this. They're throwing all the resources they have into this. I mean, the Parkland Pew Pew guy, his defense cost millions. It was public funds to pay for it. And this is a death penalty case. There's no case more serious than this. They should have unlimited resources within reason.
You mean the defense should have
unlimited
resources? Yeah. Well, there's no such thing as unlimited resources, but
within reason. But like, you shouldn't be limiting valid pathways to proving your case.
Yeah. Look, if it's costing however many millions of dollars, cool. I would like to just say that however many millions of dollars that it's costing, wouldn't it be such a shame if it's costing this many millions of dollars and all of those millions of dollars are being spent, yet the actual murderers are out there? Yeah. So no dollars are being spent actually investigating leads as to who else might have committed these crimes. So they just think that's it. Got him. Done. And yeah, all this money is being invested in this trial. And that's it. It's done. Now, it also makes me interested to consider that as time goes on and the case is falling apart, and I'm going to be talking about this more over the next few weeks, and we see what's happening with the FBI really walking away from the case. And other commentators, especially Andrea, has called this out just recently. The way that FBI seems to have abandoned Bill Thompson and the state with the information or the work that they did early on with the PCA. So they came along early on, and they provided cast report. They provided intelligence on Brian Kohberger, and it was sort of half done, but it was enough for them to arrest him and to provide the probable things that he did, probable cause. And they said that he was stalking the roommates. It said the things that Nancy put up there in regard to his cell phone tower pings, etc. But there was more work to be done. And now they just seem to be walking away. In fact, they've even stated, well, Bill Thompson stated at the last hearing that they're using what's called the TUI rule, which is a rule that apparently is only supposed to be used for top secret information, like in wartime and stuff like that. So like intelligence, top secret intelligence that shouldn't be released in trials, like or other really extenuating circumstances. It shouldn't be used to stop someone being exonerated from a crime they didn't commit.
Yeah.
So the FBI is really playing hardball with this information that should have been released in discovery nearly a year ago at that most and it's really very worrying. And the fact that the state is saying, oh, let's close the hearings now. And the defense is like, well, no. The public should know what's going on here. They want to keep the hearings open. So when the public's all like, when the defense are like, the public should know what's going on. Everyone should see what's happening. The state's all like, no, actually, let's close the hearings off. I think it's very important that we all watch closely now, because I think that the FBI is actually put the state in a hard position, but the state's not really doing much about it, because let's just say the whole case is falling a little bit to pieces, and a lot of money's been spent, and they would look very, very silly if they were to admit right now that have the evidence that they said that they had at the start. So what are you going to do? Are you going to just go, oh, we got the wrong guy? No, you still need to pursue him, don't you? It's too late. It's too late.
Yeah.
Online. TUI is also being used to keep much of the federal investigation out of Karen Reid case. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Yeah. I need to read more into this TUI thing. It seems really suspicious to me.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, it sounds like the kind of thing that only gets pulled out when the feds really don't want to talk in a criminal trial. It's supposed to be used in like only really extenuating circumstances or like national security. To bring it out when it's just some routine work between state and feds on a criminal case. You see FBI working on criminal cases with state, just like communicating with them and cooperating regularly and coming into trials and testifying all the time. And it's no biggie. And then to see them just, nah, not here, didn't do that. And then to pull this TUI rule thing out, yeah, it just doesn't sit right. Doesn't sit right. What's this? Oh, Loretta, is there a channel that covered the federal investigation portion of the Karen Reid case? Yeah. It's
probably Turtle Boy, but
I actually was watching it on Andrea's channel.
Oh, okay.
I watched most of it and I fell asleep for half of it, but I then caught back up. I think Sean's running it again now.
Yes.
Got it on at the moment, so I'll be popping over there. The last few witnesses were useless. Yeah, I mean, Jen McCabe was the one to watch. She went till lunchtime, I think.
And the one after her.
Yeah.
It was, I think, somebody else that was in the car with them.
Yeah. So anyway, on Friday night, so 6:30 p.m. Eastern, guys, please join me. Unfortunately, Dally won't be here. He is heading off to go fishing.
Yes.
Fishing. Make sure you keep your phone on.
Yes. Oh, great. It's really bad signal. Like really bad signal.
Well, make sure you've got your GPS on and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, boy.
Very important. Otherwise, Nancy Grace will get you.
I know. God.
Yeah. Make sure you keep an eye on your dad.
Yes.
Otherwise,
Yeah, he could go off.
If someone goes to stabby and you don't have your phone on, you're in big trouble.
I'll make sure he keeps his jitterbug on him.
Yeah, look after your dad. But have a great time. And but anyway, guys, please join me 6:30 p.m. Eastern on Friday. We'll watch the witness testimony. Hopefully it will be Ray. Otherwise it might be one of the IGG experts from the defense. So either way, it'll be interesting. Everything that's happening in the Idaho case at the moment is fascinating. And then we will also be watching the 30th of May hearing live. I'm going to stay up all night for that one. I'll watch that one live together. I'll be streaming that one from 9 a.m. their time. Hang on, 9 a.m. their time is actually 12 p.m. Eastern. So therefore, 12 p.m. noon Eastern. Yeah, so it'll be noon Eastern on the 30th. But just stay tuned for that. That was fun, guys. That was super duper fun. Oops, hang on a minute. Just hang about and chat between yourselves.
Yes.
Chat between yourselves, everybody.
No Jensen, obviously.
No.
Next week we'll get back to it.
Sad.
Finish up. I know. Almost done
Yeah,
with Queens
and
of Our Lives.
no hearsay this week either. No hearsay, but that's okay. I really need a couple weeks off from it, just with stuff going on with me. You know, but that's life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, nah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, nah. That's fine. Okay, where is he? Potentially Criminal is on right now. What's today? 23rd? Oh, yeah.
20, yeah.
Not intentional.
Well, it's 23rd for me. Not
John.
intentional. Can we just get the eggplant? No, the eggplant dance is on Dali's.
Yeah, she doesn't have it on
I
her
don't have the
StreamYard.
eggplant dance. No, that's Dali's one. All right, great. That was fun, guys. I enjoyed that. And please, if you have, obviously, if you're on the Discord and you have any Kohberger stuff, documents. If you come by documents, I have like a feed of documents going on for my Reddits and things like that. But if you come by anything else, please chuck it onto the Discord or message me. If you have any questions or information that you can pop my way, please do so. Pop it onto the Discord. There's a discussion in there, and I would like to make it bigger so everyone can add to it and we create a knowledge base. This is a really interesting case, and I'd like this channel to become more of a hub for Kohberger. And yeah, looking to get more guests on as well. Definitely. Alrighty. Oh yeah, I heard about that. And actually, I need to go looking for that. I missed all that. All the spice. All right, that's it. Thanks, guys. This has been really fun. And it's been lovely to stream with you again, Dali.
Yes, it has been.
How fun that was.
I know.
Don't worry. I'm onto it, half Irish. I'm onto it. Don't you worry. You know I get my lawyers. All righty. Thanks, guys. We're going to go over to Sean. So everyone go hello, Raid, when we get over there. All righty. Bye.